And the very first step in design thinking is empathy. Empathy is so critical because if we are to be innovative and to transform systems and products and experiences, then we really need to understand and understand deeply the experiences of end users. Empathy is about understanding, and it is the first step of the design thinking process. And we will talk in more detail about each of the other steps. So, just briefly, defining is about bringing clarity and focus to the design process. So, it's crafting a meaningful and actionable problem statement, usually with the phrase, how might we? HMW. How might we do something? Ideate is about bringing together collective minds, multiple people to brainstorm multiple creative ideas. And it's really about innovation and creativity and thinking outside the box and some tools that you can use to be more creative and innovative. And strategies is really what we're going to focus on when we talk about ideation. Prototyping is creating low fidelity, quick, easy, low cost prototypes that will elicit feedback from both your users and colleagues. So you're going to get a sense of, okay, I've mocked up a proposition for what we think or our team thinks might be a solution. What does everyone else think? And that really leads into testing, where you share and test your prototype with users, what works and what doesn't. And then the final sixth step is to implement and assess this vision to make it happen. But empathy, that is the foundation of the design thinking process. Deeply understanding the problems, needs, and realities of the people that we're designing with and for. Empathy is our ability to see the world through other people's eyes, to understand, as best we can, their perspectives, emotions, and experiences as they do. And to truly understand the human user experience, it's really important that we intentionally put and keep aside any preconceived notions. Of course, we can never really fully experience life exactly as someone else does, but we can get as close as possible by putting our own assumptions down and truly listening to others, listening and with the intent of trying to understand. Now, I want to play this wonderful video for you, which is from the Cleveland Clinic. And yes, it's the context of healthcare, but it really doesn't matter what the problem you're trying to solve is or the challenge that you're facing it. This is a really great reminder that empathy and understanding users and people, and that we're all people, that is critically important. Just half a second, sorry. What's coming? So that's a wonderful reminder that we're all human and we all carry with us a lot of different experiences and viewpoints, backgrounds, and we're all going to be different in different moments in time. But if we can tap into that wisdom, that inner wisdom that's there with all end users, with all consumers, then we can really create products and services and systems that resonate and that work for the people that we're creating them with and for. So the first step in the design thinking process is always empathize. And you can do this in a variety of different ways. It might be from real user interviews. Often it's from creating personas or completing empathy maps, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And often you can draw on real research and data, but what you need to do is always hold on to curiosity, see their world, appreciate them as human beings, understand their feelings, and then do your best to communicate that understanding. That's what empathy is all about. So there's a great definition of empathy by Daniel Pink as standing in someone else's shoes, feeling with his or her heart, seeing with his or her eyes. And nursing scholar Teresa Wiseman has said that there's four key attributes of empathy: to see the world as others see it, to be non-judgmental, to understand another's feelings, and to communicate that understanding. And for us to foster empathy in the design thinking process, we'll create personas. And this enables a team to all get on the same page to build a deep understanding of the needs, tasks, priorities, and experiences of different user groups. And the shared understanding provides a real solid basis for action. And in fact, some companies have developed life size cardboard cutouts of their personas to bring to meetings as a reminder. This is who we are designing for. This is our end user. And you might want to consider doing something along those lines, some way to bring uh, your end user into the process as a tangible reminder always that that's who we're designing with and for. So, what is a persona? A persona is a fictional character designed to help us better consider, imagine, and step into the shoes of another. And when crafting a persona, you really have to think about who you're going to do, who you're designing for, and what's the desired outcome of the empathy mapping. Usually, personas are research based. They might be from workshops, interviews, observations, perhaps in the field, quantitative or qualitative data, so interviews or surveys. In the medical context, they actually be from real cases, and they insist personas assist as sort of archetypes of who we're designing for. An example on the right-hand side is one of the personas that we use in the project with looking at the future of healthcare and different kind of technologies that might be valuable. And it was all we did. We had this one persona called Anne who had COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. And you can see here, it doesn't say very much about her, just that she lives alone and needs help with her tasks. And, she's feeling anxious about her shortness of breath. And actually, this persona so resonated with one consumer, that Jeff, that he stood up and he shared his wife's story with the group. He talked about how she had actually died in a car outside a regional hospital, was brought back to life, and then spent the next year and a half out in and out of hospital before receiving a lung transplant. And so he shared his hope that technologies might have enabled him and his wife to stay at home rather than live in a city urban area instead of their regional community. So whether it's through personas or the powerful narratives of real life consumers, good design always starts with listening and with deep empathy. Now, empathy map, and you'll see these in your worksheets, vary in formats and formulas, but typically they'll have the user in the center, and they'll ask, be divided up into quadrants, and it'll ask participants in your design thinking sprint to write down, what do you think this consumer is saying, doing, thinking, and feeling? Okay, what do you observe them saying and doing about the specific thing you're doing, the specific thing that you're investigating? And what do you think this person is thinking and feeling? Okay, and here is an example. We asked people to imagine they were Anne, 67-year-old living with a chronic illness, and you can see some notes on the right-hand side illustrating some of the thoughts that they put down, stepping into Anne's shoes. It's common for people to use an empathy map canvas, and you can see this one here, and you can walk through that answering the 6 questions. So the first one is, who are we empathizing with? Who's the person? What is the situation they're in? What is their role in the situation? So it might be a 25-year-old moving out of home for the first time, and they are trying to do whatever it is that you want them to do. Set up a new process or a new system, or maybe download an app to do with some kind of new social service. What do they need to do? What's the goal? What do they see? What do they say? What do they do? What do they hear? And then in the middle, the question is, what do they think and feel? What are their pains? What are their fears, frustrations, and anxieties? And what are their gains? What are their wants, needs, hopes, and dreams? So you can really dive very deeply into this. And you can see I've got some questions on the left-hand side that you can answer. Okay. And the whole idea is that you're really trying to put yourself into the shoes of the person you're designing for. And that's a process of completing what's called an empathy map. Okay. You can also, depending on how you want to structure your event, you can create these from research, or you can co-design them with consumers. So in this example, we actually had a group of about 10 consumers, and they co-designed these personas with us. So they came together and sat down, and we had 3 focuses. We were looking at how to redesign healthcare, so it was better responsive in 3 different ways. Pathways from a GP to a specialist in the regions, being unwell, late at night at home, what to do, and then the transition from hospital to home. And so we asked them, and we worked with the consumers to create these kind of narratives, these personas that they thought really represented their situation. And you might want to do that too. So you might actually want to have a process where you engage with your users, and they help you co-create personas that you're designing for, drawing on real world activities. Or you might want to do something like this. So the right-hand side is looking at mental health in the regions, and we gave participants in our workshop 2 personas to could pick from. They could either do an empathy map for Emma, who was a 17-year-old teenager, or Alan, who was a 67-year-old man. And they could choose who they wanted to imagine being in design for. And you can see the empathy map is still the same, but you're like, okay, what does Emma feel? What's her pain points? What are they trying to achieve? What are their challenges? You do it for Emma or Alan, depending on your situation. Similarly, the left-hand side, we ask people to think about different people associated in a healthcare situation, and they could be a patient or a carer, a surgeon or a nurse or an anesthesiologist, and they could actually just pick one of those and actually craft their own persona backstory, outlining 3 reasons why this persona would engage with the initiative we're talking about or wouldn't, and then writing down that. So again, you need to put a little bit of thought into, what is your project? What persona and empathy task do you want to do? And do you want to give your participants, an existing personas we've got on the right-hand side with Emma or Alan, or do you want them have them write their own up? And there's pros and cons for both. It depends on, your audience and the time frame you've got. It depends how much time that you've got and what you would like to do. And it's something just to really think about. You can also ask people to do this, but then actually you can to present their understanding in a different way. So in this situation, we actually used comics in the storybook comic form. So we presented again a situation of Ruby's got diabetes and she's got a carer, Don, that's her husband, but he's finding it really hard. And we asked people to draw out a comic strip to illustrate the rehab patient journey and what it was like. Okay, so they drew out the key moments in that journey, and you can do this about anything. It might be, how do you access a specific service? What would be the key moments? Draw it out. Put the key moments for the personas in there. And then you can see on the left-hand side, we've got this add a scene or a comment. Other people can go around and add little points if they feel that it's missed something out. So again, it's about communicating and understanding the experience from someone else's point of view. There are a lot of things and different tasks you can do to experiment and to have more empathy and to foster empathy in your team. And we'll give you some more examples so you can choose your favorite task to engage with empathy in terms of design thinking.